Hey, everybody, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode 378. Today is the 9th of February, 2022. And on top of answering your SEO, digital marketing, all sorts of questions, this is your reminder. If you have someone in your life who thinks you're doing something for Valentine's Day, you better get on it. You only got a few days left. So that may be the most important reminder this year. Consider your butt saved. So just kidding. We're going to get into the questions here in a second. Just wanted to say hi to the guys. We've got a couple of announcements, and then we're going to jump into it. Looks like we got a lot of really good questions today. So first of all, Chris, how are you doing, man?
Doing good here. I don't know what to say, but like it's getting warm. Spring is definitely, I don't know, let's say around the corner. I wouldn't say like winter is completely over, but you mentioned like Valentine's. It's definitely here. Yeah, it's
Oh, wow.
good time.
Yeah, man. You got new headphones, or what are you rocking there? Those look like
Just
pretty
the same
serious.
old, like just studio headphones. Like gotta shut out the noise outside and stuff.
Nice. All right, Bradley, how you doing today?
Good, busy as hell, but good. It's definitely not spring here, I'll tell you that.
Right on. Yeah, it's definitely. Well, no, it warmed up a little bit here, but I don't know. Do you guys got snow, or has it just been cold?
Just been cold. Yeah. But it's February. What do you expect? You know?
Yeah, you said busy, and so I wanted to circle back to something we talked about last week, which was the GBP SOP. And so we'd had a few posts going out about that. Of course, if you hadn't picked up the GMB or GBP checklist, you can do that depending on where you're watching this. If you're on the Hump Day Hangouts page at semanticmastery.com/Hump Day, you can find that link up above. If you're watching the replay, you can find the link down in the comments, or just go to semanticmastery.com and you'll find the link. Grab that. But what Bradley did, building off of that checklist, was the full-blown SOP in terms of, video-based, step-by-step, really detailed standard operating procedure. And then that is only available inside the mastermind to mastermind members only. So checklist, great tool, gave it away for free, and the SOP is certainly in depth. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Bradley, or just tell people how much time you spent on it.
You should scroll in some like reviews or like comments you already got of them. Like I will be having a call with somebody tomorrow, and they already told me it was life-changing for their business. So like super excited to talk to them in person.
I'll just do the 2-word review: friggin' gold.
So, yeah, pretty much.
Well, it's interesting. I had a call with one of our new mastermind members yesterday. He's in Australia, and he was like, "Yeah, I got access to the SOP, but I haven't gone through it yet." And he was like, "Because I looked at the checklist, which is what we've had for 6 or 8 months, whatever." And he was like, and I was just like, "Oh, I didn't even know where to begin." And I said, "Well, number one, that's the whole point of the SOP. It's to go step by step from starting at the beginning." And it has training, full-on training for how to execute all those tasks in the checklist. And it's meant to be given to or have a virtual assistant go through it. I certainly recommend everybody go through it at least once so that they understand it. But it's meant to be able to delegate that work. That's the whole point of it. And so that you, as the SEO, doesn't have to do all that work. You as the business owner, you can hand that off and delegate that to somebody else. And that's really the whole point. And so it's not 100% complete, but it's quite a lot of it's done. And I actually just got the tier 1 entity assets delivered today, the remaining, the one that I was holding out for. So on Friday, well, maybe Friday, if not Friday, sometime over the weekend, I'm going to get that part completed in the module inside the SOP. And then I'll start on a tier 1 link building module, which will take me about a week or so to get done. And then after that, about another week in the tier 2 link building module. And by the time I'm done, within about a month from now, it'll be basically the entire process. And once again, I need to reiterate this because it's everything that's in the checklist: full-on training, video training, links to resources, step-by-step checklists that are literally like written instructions for how to execute every task. And the VA can just go through and check off items as they're completing each task. And when I say check off items, I don't mean like it says do this task and it doesn't show them how to do it. It shows them how to do each one of those tasks. And so what's great about it is if a virtual assistant, a worker, an employee, whatever, gets stuck somewhere, they can stop. And in the Flowster app, there's a comment section right at the bottom of each module where they can send a message like, hey, I need help on this, or any other way that they communicate with you. And you can come in and jump into that specific workflow and see exactly where they stopped and figure out what, and provide guidance or assistance. So it really is meant to be so that you don't have to do the work yourself anymore, other than perhaps to go through it one time so that you understand it, and maybe customize it for your specific industries and that kind of stuff. Put your own login details and stuff right in the workflow or the template for your VAs and that sort of stuff. But it's put a lot of work into it. Still not 100% done, but within probably a month or so, it should be so.
Out freaking standing. I can't get over that. Yeah, I loved one of the reviews was just like friggin' gold. Made me think of Goldfinger from was that Austin Powers?
Yeah. What, smoking a pancake?
Yeah.
Swinging a blitz?
Yeah.
Cigar and a prep?
So let me see. I think that's really what I wanted to touch base on, remind people about that is out and available for mastermind members. If you are interested in the mastermind, you can find out more about that at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. Got any other questions, just shoot us an email to support@semanticmastery.com and we'll get you sorted out. I guess one last thing I wanted to mention too with the videos, with Hump Day Hangouts, with YouTube. If you like Hump Day Hangouts, you watch them or you watch the clips, head over to YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Really appreciate it. And also helps you stay up to date as we release the new Hump Day Hangouts. You get notified. And also we release the clips once we chop up the Hump Day Hangouts. If you're not aware of that, we chop up each question into a short one, give it a title based on what the question was, so people can easily find the questions and then how we answered them. So you can always head over to YouTube, just type in Semantic Mastery, hit subscribe and stay up to date that way. And of course, we love it when you join us live. If you're watching this right now, we love you being here. Because not only is it fun and more interactive, but also if you ask a question and we need some clarification or you need to add something to it, then, if we're asking for that clarification, you can give it to us right then, and then we can help you out. So it really helps both ways. So that said, guys, anything else you think we need to cover or let people know about before we jump into it?
No, I think it's good.
All right, cool. Let's do it.
Okay, let me grab the screen.
Ooh, this is good. I see the second question is asking something about clutch. So this will be interesting.
Nice.
It's like I've never used Zoom before. All right. Yossi says,
Yossi
says, hey guys, I was wondering how you approach and close clients to do SEO for multi-locations. Most businesses in my local area are small and don't have the budget for SEO. Well, that's a good question. I mean, if say the businesses are small and don't have the budget for SEO, it's your job kind of as a salesperson and an SEO professional to show how they can get a return on investment, right? That's kind of the point, is SEO should provide a return on investment, they invest money in the SEO, which will help them to generate more leads, provided you can get results. To generate more leads for their business, which if they, know how to close and sell and close, then they should be able to close more sales, depending on what types of business it is, whether they're selling products or services or whatever. So that's kind of the whole point with SEO, is it's not just about spending money on, SEO. It's about how does that investment provide a return, right? And that's really the whole point of selling SEO services. It's not just to sell the activity. If you want to do that, you can sell social media services, right? Social media posts and things like that. But SEO is more about, producing results, usually in the form of, it depends on what it is that you're selling as far as your key performance or indicator, KPI essentially. But generally, the way that I sell it is more leads. That's how I justify it. It's not so much about rankings. Of course, that's part of it. But what I usually pitch is more leads for the business. And SEO is a great way to do it, because I can show them that if they want to generate more leads for their business using like paid ads, for example, that it's, it can work, it can be effective, but it's expensive, and they will always have to continue spending money to generate leads. Whereas with SEO, they still have to pay money to generate leads, but as they start to get more exposure and become the authority in their local market, and they, get those top spots, both maps, organic, all that kind of stuff, then it actually ends up being more leads than if they were paying on like a pay per lead basis or cost, pay cost per acquisition, cost per lead, like it is with Google Ads, for example. So that's typically how I would sell it is, show how you can get a return. They can produce a return on investment through your SEO services. As far as, and I'd like to get the other guy's opinion here in just a moment, as far as selling SEO for multi-location businesses, usually start with one location. I mean, certainly if you can sell a multi-location business on multiple locations all at once, then fucking A, do it, but if you think that's a little bit difficult, then start with one, right? Try to get your foot in the door and say, hey, give me a shot with one location. Let me show you what I can do. And, if you know your abilities and you know that you're confident in your abilities and you can get results within a certain amount of time frame, then, pitch them on that. I talked about this before, but last year I had been guaranteeing 90 days in Maps Pack rankings, essentially, taking over a top spot for their local area within a 25 square mile area. So it's a 5x5 grid, search grid with 1 mile spacing between the nodes. And I would say, whatever the top keyword is that you want, I'll get you there in 90 days or I'll refund your money. And there was 2 times where I damn near had to refund the money. And fortunately, I was able to pull it off at the last minute and get them to pop for all, turn that whole 25 square mile area green. And then from there, we always expand out. But that was just the initial pitch. I've changed since then. I've changed my pitch to not say I'm going to refund your money if I can't get you there in 90 days, because those 2 times I came so damn close to having to refund the money. So now I say I'll get you there within 4 months, or else I'll continue working on your location until I do, right? So for free until I do. So that way I'm not refunding money and then like literally taking a loss, but I fully intend if that ever occurs that I will continue working on it until I do, because generally by the end of 3 months, I know that I can get results almost every damn time within that time frame. And so, if I haven't got the results, just, filled up that 25 square mile area within 90 days, then I know I'm right on the cusp of doing it. So for me, it was just a better way to frame it. But again, start with one location. If you can't land a multi-location business with multiple locations all at once, start with one. Give them under promise and over deliver. Ask for however much time you think it's going to take, but, work your ass off to nail it. You knock it out of the park and get them results very, very quickly. And then that will likely lead into a lot more business. So that's kind of my approach. Adam, you want to, or Chris, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I got nothing, man. I think that you hit the main stuff there.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly.
All right. Moving on. It's a good question. Richard says, how would you approach ranking for location service keywords? Example, SEO services in city where big sites like clutch.co and Yelp are dominating the first 3 spots in the SERP. I have made way better content than them and have internal links from relevant content, strong backlinks, and a decent overall domain with some age and links along with a shield and press release, but I can't get past these 3 monster sites. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Some you can do it. You will be able to do it. This is pretty much primarily what I've been teaching in the mastermind lately is backlinks. Backlinks are valuable, but only if they're really topic, like what I'm finding. Okay. And I got to preface that every time, because otherwise I say stuff, people run off and say, well, Bradley said this. No, what I'm saying is what I'm finding in my testing and in my, test with a bunch of different locations. Now they're all local projects, and I'm managing, between my own clients and my link building clients now that are mastermind members, I've got, 40 some locations. It's insane. And all different industries. And what I'm finding is by analyzing backlink profiles, and I'm talking, we do map stuff too, but specifically organic rankings, looking at backlink profiles from multiple different industries, that it's generally the websites, the local business types of sites that are outranking the directory sites. Directory sites are generally ranked on internal links alone, on authority. And I don't mean Moz domain authority. I mean the authority of the entity and the brand itself. And then internal links. Because if you do searches, if you do backlink analysis, for example, on even Clutch, for example, a lot of the times you'll see like Yelp and Angie's List and my industry, Home Advisor, Lawn Starter, like a lot of those types of directory sites, the ranking page for keyword plus city generally has 0 backlinks or less than 10 backlinks. No kidding. So, and most of the time, you know, like I said, it's 0 backlinks or within 5 backlinks. So I can count them on one hand. So how are they ranking? Well, they're ranking because number one, the pages are like, you know, thousands and thousands of words that are keyword repetitive words, because like, again, in my industry, but I'm seeing this across all different industries now because I'm, you know, doing so much link building for so many different industries, but using mine as a specific example, like Yelp, for example, if it ranks for tree service plus city, it's because there are, you know, hundreds or dozens and dozens and dozens, but generally hundreds of tree service companies. And so you got to think that name tree service, that keyword is repeated over and over and over and over again, because it's just a directory listings of all these different tree service companies. So it's like keyword spamming or stuffing, right? But there's thousands and thousands of word of content. So like if you're doing like using serp for SEO, for example, and you go analyze the SERP results, you'll see that, you know, the local business websites might average 850 words, but the directory sites are averaging 3,500 words. And it's keyword repetition over and over and over and over again, because it's most tree service contractors have tree service or tree removal, which is it's synonymous with tree service, or tree care, like all those different terms that are basically synonymous with tree service in the name of their business. So it's like keyword spamming and everything else. So my point is, they have authority for the entity or the brand. The site itself is authoritative. There's a lot of internal link juice that's flowing in. And when you're looking at backlink analytics tools, they're only looking at external links, not internal links. And there's, like I said, the keywords, there's a lot more content. When I say content, it's not optimized content like what we would do, but it's a lot of words, and also the keyword repetition over and over and over again. So it's hard to rank or to compete with that, but it can be done. And the way that I found that it can be done is by having a relevant backlink profile. That's what I've been seeing over and over and over again in my testing, again, looking across multiple industries. So how do you do that? It's not just about getting backlinks or backlinks with certain metrics. I've found that that's not really helping that much anymore. At least, again, in my testing, I'm not seeing that that's helping all that much anymore. What I'm finding is if you can get backlinks from topically relevant domains or sources. And here's the thing, even, you know, we oftentimes, like if we're going to go buy links from a PBN, for example, a PBN provider, those domains are going to have multiple topics on them. So even if you get a link that's in topically relevant content, meaning the article published on that PBN is topically relevant, which it should be, or a guest post or a niche edit, but it's on a great big general site, general blog type site, even with high metrics, the topical relevance isn't really there. It might be a contextual link in relevant content, but the source of that content, meaning the domain itself, is likely not going to be specifically relevant to that project, if that makes sense, to its target. And if you can find links or get links, place links on relevant sources, that is working so much better right now. And if you think about it, it's Google's, you know, natural language NLP, right? That algorithm has gotten so much better at understanding language and you know, language and the meaning of content. And so if you think about it, to me, it seems very logical. If Google wants to combat link spam, then all it has to do is look at the source URL of a link, an inbound link, and say, okay, what is that site about? What is the topical relevance of that site? And if it's not topically relevant, then is that link as valuable? Even though the metrics might be great, if it's not coming from a topically relevant source, is that link as valuable? Or is a link more valuable that's coming from a domain so the source is topically relevant to what the target URL is. And even though it might have lower metrics, at least it's on point, right? It's on the same topic. And so again, through my own testing, I'm just seeing over and over and over again, if I can find topically relevant sites to get links on or place links on, that even if the metrics aren't as high as some of the other sources, I'm getting better results from that with less number of like overall number. And it's not a matter of referring domains or anything like that, like it has been in the past. At least again, with my own testing, it's more about topical relevance. And so coming back to your question, Richard, I think I know for sure that you can outrank those kind of sites if you can get really, really good links from really relevant sources. And when I say really good links, I don't necessarily mean super high metrics. Of course, that helps. But more when I say really good links, I mean from really relevant sources. So it can be done. It's just a matter of, how much effort it's going to take. How many of them is it going to take? The way that I'm doing it right now is I'm scraping domains that are, I've gotten doing a lot of that, scraping a lot of domains that are, expired domains that can be registered, and doing a ton of analysis using Majestic and using topical trust flow metrics. Again, that's just a third-party tool. But I found that the topical trust flow metrics are a pretty damn good indicator of topical relevance of the source domains, right? Which is where I'm trying to get links from. And so that's where I found the most results right now, is doing that. Instead of going out and spending $150 on a guest post or $200 on a guest post, which you can get a relevant link from that because the content is very relevant and it's on usually a high powered site with traffic and everything else, good metrics, but it's usually those sites are going to have all different types of topics on them. And so if you look at the topical trust flow, and again, I know it's a third-party metric, but if you look at the topical trust flow from these even guest posts on these, expensive guest post sites, I'm finding that the relevance isn't there. So yeah, they can still move the needle a bit, but I'm getting better results going out and scraping and finding domains that I can register for 10 or 12 bucks that have maybe 5 or 10 referring domains, but have the topical trust flow categories in the appropriate category, right? And then rebuilding that domain and putting relevant content on it and then linking back to my target assets. And that seems to be working a hell of a lot better. And it's a lot cheaper. It's a lot more work because we got to go hunt those down and then rebuild them and everything else. I've got a whole process that I'm developing still for that, but I'm finding that to be much more effective. And again, it just goes back to what I'm seeing through my testing is topical relevance is really the most important thing about backlink profiles right now. Again, looking at multiple industries, most of the top ranked organic sites in the organic section that are outranking like the big directory sites, like what you're mentioning, Richard, are typically, if not always, there's always outliers, there's always anomalies, but generally what I'm seeing, the majority of those types of sites have very, very specific, topical, like their backlink profiles are very specific to their own topic. And it's almost, probably 60-70% of the time, that's what I'm seeing. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to model with my link building service. And I'm seeing better and better results that way, the more that I do that. So I know that was a long-winded answer, but hopefully that makes sense. You can absolutely outrank. I've been doing it with tree service contractors for a long time, outranking, directory sites like Lawn Starter and all that kind of stuff. So it's a matter of, but I've also been working in the tree service industry for 10 years. So I've gotten a lot of really good sources for links for that kind of stuff. But now that I'm starting to expand, and do a lot of other industries, I found the easiest way to get those is just to go out and hunt down domains. I've got a whole process I talked about last week in the mastermind about how to go out and actually, find what I call crawl targets that are specifically in that topical trust flow category that you need for whatever project it is that you're working on. And I've got kind of a whole process using Majestic to analyze and go find these crawl targets. And then I just plug them into a crawl tool and, let it run for a week or however long it takes. And then I go back and look at the inventory, the return domains that are eligible for registration. And then I go analyze those and determine, are they clean? Do they have a clean backlink profile? Have they been spammed? Or are they in the appropriate topical trust flow category that I need, right? In other words, are they topically relevant? If so, then I can purchase those 10, 12 bucks. I can have some content put up on them that's relevant. Then I can use those to link to my assets. And, I send that over to a site builder that I have. He builds the sites on HTML. So they're easy sites. They're not PBNs. I'm focusing all that topical relevance from that rebuilt domain to one asset or one project, which typically means I'm going to link to the money site, the Google business website, and the Google map all in the same rebuild, if that makes sense. So that was a great question though, but that's my experience with it. And that's what I would suggest to you is to focus more on topical relevance, get links from those sources. Like press releases are good for certain things, but the relevance, again, looking at the backlink profile from press releases, and I use a lot of press releases, you're not going to get topical relevance from that. Like as far as the source domains aren't going to be topic unless you're in the news industry. You're not going to get, what I mean? Like you're not going to get topically relevant source links, links from topically relevant sources, I should say, from press releases. But press releases are good for other things. Like press releases are good for branding, for brand searches. When you do press releases with, brand and title, They'll rank for brand searches, which is good. They're also one of my favorite things to use press releases for right now is running CTR traffic. So click-through rate manipulation traffic through press releases. Publish a press release, have it linked to your target asset, or what I prefer to do is have it linked to the Google business assets like the website or a map, and then run click-through rate, manipulation, CTR traffic through that for referral traffic from news sources, because you can blast it with referral traffic that way, because it makes it look like that press release got picked up and, got a lot of attention. And that can really have a nice effect on moving both maps and organic. It's something that you have to do regularly in order for it to continue to stay ranking. But, I just, like I said, press releases in themselves for backlink sources, if you look at the backlink profiles from the press releases, you'll see that they're not, unless you're in the news industry, they're not going to be, the source is not going to be topically relevant to the vast majority of projects, if that makes sense. So that's just kind of my own methodology that I've adopted over the last, because of several months of just analyzing many projects in many different industries. I've got a lot of data at my fingertips now. And because of that, I'm seeing that as what is the most important part of backlinks. So that's what I'm working on. So I'd encourage you to do the same. It's a great question though. Gordon says, hey guys, happy hump day. Need your help clarifying how to choose a domain for a multi-city local lead gen site. You mentioned that you don't use EMD domains for your local lead gen sites. Yeah, rarely. But you do use the name of the niche in your domains. So is that considered a PMD or partial match domain? Yeah, usually. And again, I guess it just depends on the industries. Like, tree service companies typically have tree service in their name, or tree care or tree removal. But usually it's one of those three. It's just very, very common. So that's what I would consider partial match. Is there a reason that Google does not flag that as over optimization when you also have the niche and the city name and the meta title, meta description, H1 tag, and page content? I think it depends on, what is the industry norm, right? If you have the industry that I've spent 10 years in now, which is the tree service industry, most of the time, like the vast majority of tree service companies have one of those terms, synonymous terms in their name. And so it's normal for almost every website for tree service contractors to have tree service, tree removal, tree care, something like that in the domain. Now, if you're in another industry where that's not normal and you do that, then it may trigger over optimization, right? It may. You got to look at what is kind of the industry standard for that industry and determine. But if everyone else is getting away with it, then there's a good chance that you can get away with it too. Does that make sense? So again, whenever I say something, I don't want people to think that that's law. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, look at that. Like, for example, just for Google business profiles, if you go look at categories, right? You can use GMB Crush, you can do GMB Spy, you can use any one of those Chrome extensions that will go in and show you what the categories are for the Google business profiles for a particular search query. And you can go in and see, for tree service contractors, it's tree service should be the primary category. And in general, sometimes arborist and tree surgeon, which is like a secondary category. But if I go into a new location, I'll go in and look at the top 10 ranked Google business profiles and and just do an inventory of all the different categories that are showing and see, is there another category that's common among the majority? So 60% or more of the top 10 ranking tree service contractors. Does that mean I should include that? Probably, if that makes sense. I mean, again, I know what the primary category should be, and almost, that's always the case, which should be tree service, arborist and tree surgeon most of the time, which is a secondary category. But sometimes there's a kind of a third category that is common in a particular location with 60% of the top 10 ranked, 6 or more out of the top 10 ranked Google business profiles. So that might be something that I would include. I wouldn't normally do it, but if I see a particular location that's common in that particular location as a common category, then I would want to include that. Does that make sense? It's almost like, also, Gordon, one of the other things that I do with backlinks is analyze the top 5 ranked competitors. And then I do an average anchor text ratio into 5 different categories when I'm looking at backlink profiles for, organic stuff. I look at the top 5 ranked competitors, and I don't mean directory sites. I mean local business sites, comparing apples to apples, right? I look at the backlink profiles, and then we do an average of the top 5 ranked competitors with all the backlinks, all the do follow backlinks. We omit no follow backlinks, but look at all the do follow links, and it categorize or classify the anchor text into 1 of 5 types. And then we get an average, and that gives us a pie chart that now that becomes like a target. We want to get our anchor text ratios to similar, numbers as what that average of the top 5 is. Why? Because that's obviously working in that location for that search query. Does that make sense? So what I'm saying to you, Gordon, is again, look at, can it be an over optimization if you have a partial match domain plus the keyword in your H1, your meta description, your SEO title, and your page content? Yeah, it can. But if the vast majority of, sites in that industry specific to that query, which would be location specific, are doing that, then you should be able to as well. It shouldn't trigger over optimization because that's industry standard, if that makes sense. So look at the competitors, guys. Remember, you don't want to stick your head out, right? You don't want to be in the front or in the back, right? I mean, yeah, you want to be in the front, but what I'm saying is when you want to blend into the crowd as far as like for SEO, backlinks, like again, like I mentioned this to a lot of my link building clients. If they've got hundreds and hundreds of backlinks to their page and all the other top ranked competitors have a couple dozen backlinks, aren't they an outlier? Couldn't that be a reason, even though they have many, many more backlinks, couldn't that be a reason why they're not ranking? Because they have hundreds and hundreds of backlinks when the top 5 ranked competitors have an average of, 24 backlinks. Yeah, that could be an outlier. That could be a reason why they're not ranking. And also likely because with that many backlinks, they're going to be in appropriate categories. The topical relevance is going to be there, right? So that's what I'm saying. You kind of want to blend into the middle, just do it better than everybody else. So that's where I'm finding, the best results. How do you determine that a domain name you choose is not an EMD? Do you check Google Keyword Planner? And if it does not appear to have searches, you're okay with it? No, because sometimes, sometimes I will use an EMD. It just depends. But for example, quality plumbing and reliable plumbing have searches, and responsive plumber does not appear to have any searches. Is there a better way? Yeah, no, that's not quality plumbing plus like quality plumbing. That's not typically something that, there might be some search volume for that, but that's not like, I wouldn't consider that an EMD. If you had like quality plumbing plus city or city quality plumbing, I wouldn't consider that an EMD because there's not, at least from, I'm not in the plumbing industry, but I can't imagine that that's got a shit ton of search volume, if that makes sense. If you look at I'm sure it has some search volume, but I can't imagine, like affordable tree service. That's an example that would be relevant to what you're saying. That does have search volume, but like on a city level, that doesn't really have a lot of search volume, not with local modifier too. So, you know what I'm saying? So like city affordable tree service or affordable tree service plus city, that kind of stuff. I wouldn't really consider that exact match. It's still partial match though. So I don't know, use logic. I don't know what else to tell you, Gordon. Like seriously, like use common sense. And, I prefer to have, some sort of brand identifier in a keyword or a domain, something that's a bit unique. So, like some unique name tree service, or it doesn't have to have the city name in it, right? Because it still has tree service in it, but that's a partial match, but it has some sort of unique identifier that, a brand name. And I like to do that because it makes it much easier to create an entity. You can still build an entity or create an entity with a kind of a common name, but it's much harder, right? Because it's common. If you have something unique, it's much easier to establish an entity, a brand around that unique name. So that's what I recommend, Gordon, is to always try to find something that's unique. You can still squeeze plumbing into that or quality plumbing or reliable plumbing into it, but put some sort of unique identifier in there so that it becomes a unique name and it makes it so much easier to establish an entity from that. If that makes sense. Okay. Don't make it harder than it needs to be is what I'm saying. Terry says, hey guys, wondering how you approach getting some quick leads for a client early on for an SEO campaign where it will likely be 6 months before they rank for their money keywords. Paid traffic is a good way to do it. That's probably one of the best ways. Something else you could always do is referral, like review. I just started testing. It's in this chat, guys. If you scroll up from last week's chat area, you'll see that I posted GHL Smart Reviews. If you're using High Level, which I use for my agency, there's a really cool service, or it's an add-on. It's a snapshot that you can import. You have to pay for it. It's $597, but it's a whole like review generating system that you obviously use for clients, but it also has a referral component to it. And that's a great way to do it. I mean, even High Level, they, even with their standard, without this custom snapshot, they talk about what they call database reactivation campaigns, which means like if you go to a client, you land a new client and they have a customer list, right? Names and phone numbers, or names, phone numbers, and emails of previous customers, then you can reach out to them using to request reviews. And at that point, start to get a lot of, I always call that shaking the bushes, because when you shake the bushes, things start to fall out. And I used to always make jokes with my tree service clients, contractors, which very few of them keep databases of customers, besides like literally in like written down in books, like, composition notepads and stuff like that. I'm not kidding. Very few of them have digital records of their previous customers. But I would always call it shaking the bushes, because I would say, if you shake the bushes, revenue falls out. And meaning, like, if we go back and contact your previous customers, we can oftentimes get repeat business right out of them. And so that's something that you could do. And again, High Level talks about calling it database reactivation, which means going back and contacting former clients or customers and, offering them some sort of a special 5%, 10%, whatever, $50 off, whatever it is. If they come back, if they, like, for tree service contractors, again, it would be like, hey, it's been a while since we've done anything for you. Just want to let you know, if you have any tree work that needs to be done, we'll give you $50 off. Something like that. And oftentimes you can generate new revenue from previous customers that way. Well, taking it up another level, you can request reviews from previous customers, and you can also incentivize referrals. Like, in other words, like, hey, and that's what this GHL Smart Review snapshot was like completely built around, was around generating reviews, but also asking for referrals and incentivizing referrals. So therefore, when shaking the bushes, contacting your customer database, your past customer database, you ask for reviews and then say, like, hey, for every person you refer, we'll give you another $50 off your next tree service, in my case. Does that make sense? So those are things that you can do that really don't cost anything. It's just a matter of setting it up. If you have a system that does it, you can automate that. And that's what I was talking about with the GHL Smart Reviews for High Level. It's a really slick system. I picked it up about 3 weeks ago, and I just started using it with one contractor last week. I think we've sent out 16 review requests, and we've got 7 as of today. We got 7 reviews back already. So I think that's, a pretty damn good response rate on a review campaign. So, and I haven't set the referral part of it up yet, but I plan on that going forward as I implement, add that to more of my agency clients. So it's a pretty cool system. But that's what I would do. There's always paid ads too, Terry. Google ads it's tough to get results with that right up front. It takes a little while to dial that in unless you've got experience with that already. And even with experience, generally campaigns are going to be lose money up front. It's usually, at least for me, it's usually month 2 before I start to turn a profit on an ads campaign, or return, I should say, for clients. And that's why I don't do a lot of Google ad stuff. It's hard to do. I mean, it can be effective, but I found that most clients don't have the stomach for it because they're paying for SEO too. So, okay, moving on. Also, wondering which medium is best for this with minimal cost. Again, I think, referral marketing, database reactivation. So contacting previous customers to incentivize, to basically ask for more business. Really, I think that's one of the best ways to do it, because it's very inexpensive. You just need an email platform, right? Some automated emails, automated text messaging, and a way for, just an automated reply system that, and that's High Level is great for that. So I would check it out. Greg says, how can we secure .gov links to our websites? We publish quality resource content. I don't know, because I've never tried any .gov link campaigns. So I really don't know. Sorry, Greg, I've never done that. So I'd just be making it up if I tried to give you some advice on that.
Well, there are a couple of pages that sell those, but yeah, same as Bradley, I've stayed away from those things for a couple of years.
Yeah. I recently, one of the providers on Legit, Brady Bear, she's got some EDU guest post services that you can get guest posts on EDU sites, real high metric sites, but they're just like so many guest posts, they're orphaned. So you get, in other words, you can publish on, you can have her publish these guest posts on these .edu domains. Some of them are, incredibly high metrics, but there's no internal links on those sites to those published posts. So 3 weeks later, they're still at 0 metrics, 0 citation flow, 0 trust flow. So you have to build external links to them to power them up. Because they are high metrics, you can hammer them with links, and they'll take it because they are such high metrics. The domain has such high metrics. The URL itself has none, has 0, unless you manipulate that by building links to it. So it's good to have some EDU domains and links in your profile. At least it used to be. I'm testing with it really more now than anything, but it used to be that that could really move the needle. I don't know how effective it is right now, but I did do an EDU guest post campaign for a batch of my clients, and I'll be powering those up this month with tier 2 links to push some metrics into them. And the metrics should climb rather quickly because the domain itself has high metrics. But again, it's about topical relevance, right? So I'm going to use topically relevant links to push to the EDU guest post. But my point is, same thing with .gov stuff. Like, I don't know because I haven't done it, but if there's no internal links to the posts, then they're, in my opinion, what's the point? You could go out and post content on a web too, because you're still going to have to power it up. Is my point. The reason I did the EDU guest post is because, again, in the past, having EDU links in your link profile, was effective. And the jury's still out right now. So Hugo says, hey guys, how would you value a domain? I got some good brandable domains I'm looking to sell. Godaddy valuations put them as worth over 1,000, but not sure where to start to get good offers for them. Would appreciate any advice. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not a domainer. Although the first dollars I ever made online was selling domains. And that was what got me hooked in the internet marketing. No shit. I went out and found some exact match domains that I purchased, and I just started doing straight up cold emails to, I think the first one I sold was window replacement Austin or something like that. No shit. And it was like, I picked it up for $10 and I sold it for $300. And it was just straight up cold email. and I contacted Austin, Texas window replacement companies or window companies, and just showed them the search volume metrics and the Google Ads keyword planner, and just said, hey, look, you could just redirect this to your current site and you're going to capture all this traffic, which was bullshit. I believed it at the time too. But they said, okay, I'll bite, how much? And I was like $300. And I think I ended up selling it for 150. I think that we negotiated, but I bought it for $10, right? But I have no idea. I think those GoDaddy valuations are bullshit, to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't really know how to do anything with domaining. Does somebody else here have an opinion on that?
Well, it depends obviously, like what kind of metrics the domain has. And like, so for example, is the SEO value, is the traffic on it? Is this like a branded blog or some other entity, like some business or something like that is built out on that one? So depending on what it is, like if it's a naked domain, you can try, for example, the GoDaddy auctions. I don't think that you will gain too much, but like, for example, if you rank that domain or like build it out, even if you just put a blog or something like that, add articles and stuff. So there's flipper.com, there's like a couple of those flipping sites. Then there are a couple of websites where you just sell them with like certain SEO metrics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like, as I said, like there are many options, but you gotta know like what kind of real value does the domain have, right? So like if it's just the name itself, GoDaddy auctions might be your best. Or like as Bradley said, like literally do a cold email or like an outreach campaign to businesses that the domain would be relevant to, right? So that's always another option as well. And then just make them an offer to the people who are interested.
Yeah, and it's funny because I get a lot of cold emails now from domainers that are trying to do exactly what I just mentioned. They try selling me like, virginiaarborist.com and things like that. Like, because I've got a lot of tree service sites and stuff out there, and I get, the emails come in. And so I get those emails all the time, and it's domainers trying to sell exact match domains, and it's funny because you'll see even some of the similar verbiage and the emails like, hey, did you know this gets, 120 searches per month, and all you got to do is redirect it to it's funny. And that's exactly what I did. And that was in 2009. So we're 13 years ago. But as far as I think what Chris said is true, if you're just talking about flipping domains, then I think, if you can find domains that, if it's just about buying brand new domains that have exact match, then probably cold email might be a good way. Again, I know that works. It did 13 years ago, and I'm still getting emails like that today. But if they have any SEO value, then that's different, right? If they have metrics, inbound link profile, that kind of stuff, then they become more valuable, or you can develop them out. Remember, it's like digital real estate, right? You can flip it, wholesale it, or you can develop it, right? So you can buy a domain, register it essentially, and then you can build it up to make it more valuable, just like you could buy a piece of raw land and then put a building on it, right? And make it more valuable. So there's just a number of things that you can do with it. As far as just straight up flipping domains, besides that, the few domains that I flipped many, many years ago, I don't know.
There's also another thing that I just remembered. So like, for example, if you do, I don't know like what the page name was called, but like similar to lean domain search. So basically have like a page that suggests certain business names. And then they have like a couple of them where they like highlight the domain names. And they literally have them built out with logo, with like already like the colors and the whole design and stuff. And they're selling the whole thing as a package. So like you don't have to start from scratch. But here you have like your, I don't know, like your real estate dream domain and their business name and everything built out. All you got to do is buy it here and it's yours. So that might be another kind of idea that you might be able to adapt as a variation of that. Again, it depends what you want to do.
That's kind of like what rank and rent is, right?
Yeah.
Develop a domain, get it to rank, and then you can lease it out or flip it, sell it to a contract, or I say contractor because that's who I work with. But same thing. So Steve up, he says, hey guys, I have a question about expired domains. I want to buy expired domains and make a link wheel. What is a safe way to buy them? Do you need to hide when buying domains for a link wheel? I mean, can I use my same name and credit card and registrar account to buy all my expired domains? How to hide from Google that one person owns all the domains in a link wheel? Is enabling whois protection and using Cloudflare to hide the hosting IP enough? Thanks for any help on this. I have found it that's all I do. I buy almost all of my domains unless I'm buying from an auction, which I still do occasionally, but usually I'm just going out and scraping my own domains now and just registering them through just Namecheap. For the most part, if I'm going to develop the domain out, then I will often buy it or register it through Google Domains, because I think that's a kind of a validation signal, like a trust builder right off the bat. If it's a domain that I'm going to build out for like a money site, then I'll often register it through Google Domains. But if it's something that I'm going to build out for SEO purposes, like what I'm doing for rebuilding, domains with the appropriate topical trust flow that I need, or, the topical relevance that I need, that just happens to be the metric that can tell me that. Then oftentimes I'm just doing it right through Namecheap, and I enable whois. And then, Cloudflare can help with IP diversity. Well, somewhat. Like, for example, I'm doing a ton of stuff as cloud hosted pages. So, Rackspace and Amazon S3, and more recently, some Vulture, Linode, DigitalOcean, those types of companies. And there's limited amounts of IPs. So, if you also include Cloudflare for that, then that gives you a way to basically double or vastly increase your IP pool because of Cloudflare having IPs, different IPs. But another good one for that, for just IP diversity, is using Amazon Route 53 for your DNS, because they'll give you dynamic IPs, which is kind of cool. I'm sure it's still a range of IPs, but it's interesting because the IP changes. You can refresh what is my site's IP. Go look at one of those types of tools and put the domain in that's got Amazon Route 53 as the DNS, and you'll refresh. And not all it's I don't know what the frequency is, but when you refresh, sometimes you'll see the IP change. And so that just gives some IP diversity. But as far as specifically what you're talking about with the link wheel, I'm not having any issues with just registering domains with whois protection on, and most of them are in Namecheap. And then, like I said, I'm using cloud hosting, which has limited IPs, a limited IP pool for each cloud hosting provider that I'm using. But then you can add another layer onto that with either, like I said, Amazon Route 53 or Cloudflare or something like that. And it gives you another set of IPs to pull from. So, but I haven't really had any problems with that. I haven't seen any negative effects from using the same domain registrar with whois protection on. So don't be scared. I mean, test with it, obviously, but I haven't had any issues with that. BB says, hey guys, should you include articles about the local town, area, radius, city, state, etc. in the money site that are not related to the actual service, like town hall has donation event, tourist development? Yeah, I mean, those can help. They're called geoposts. And, you know, I don't necessarily recommend that you put those like to where they're prominent type of posts on the site, but you can use those, like create a silo. You can create a silo that's even, you know, hidden from navigation. And I mean, you don't have to hide it, but what I'm saying is you can create a silo for low geoposts or location pages like that are optimized for local terms, local points of interest, things like that. And so daisy chain them together. So you basically create a silo that link back up to the page that you want to rank for location plus or service plus location or product plus location. Does that make sense? Again, I don't typically like to have those prominent on the blog, like, you know, because they're just for SEO purposes, but yeah, it can help. There's a plugin called Local Prominence. Go look it up, Local Prominence. And they have, you know, that the plugin just kind of automates a lot of that. And there's some training videos on their site, some YouTube videos that talk very specifically about that method. And that's a method that's been around for a long time. Brian Willey from Maps Liftoff has been teaching about geoposts for years. And that kind of stuff works. David Hood, who just got the SEO by the Sea event or whatever that down in Florida, he's got a course that teaches something very similar about geoposts and POI posts or points of interest posts, about creating topically relevant posts that you daisy chain or silo together to kind of push local relevance up to the pages that you want to rank on the site for local terms, if that makes sense. So yeah, it is effective for local stuff. BB says, what do you think about local as e-commerce, meaning selling local services and related products on the website? Have you ever tried it? Nope. Never done any e-commerce in my life. Don't really care to. Sorry, I can't help you with that. It's just, I've never done it, so I don't have an opinion on it. Adam, I don't know if you're listening. Do you have any opinion on it?
Yeah, I just was trying to think about that. Meaning selling local services and related products. Have you stick with local service and the service provider should upsell? Yeah, I mean, to me, it's more of like, I guess I don't have a example right off the top of my head, but it kind of makes sense. Like, yeah, if you're providing lawn care services, then you could certainly sell lawn care products, but I agree that the actual service provider, probably that's the best opportunity. Like when they're, you know, I'm trying to think, the other day, a guy came through, right? He was working, doing some bug spraying or something in the neighborhood at a house. So he went around to every house in the neighborhood and left a flyer. Like that sort of stuff is a good one. But I'm just, yeah, I don't have much experience with it, but I would say if you know that it's something people want, why not? I'm not telling you to go spend tens of thousands of dollars developing it, but I mean, I think that this is something that could be done. Just weigh the time investment versus what the potential return is, because it's not just, hey, I built an e-commerce website. Like, who's managing the inventory? Who's dealing with shipping? Who's dealing with this and that? Like, there's a lot more to it. So just kind of, you know, list it out, do some thinking through what all actually needs to be done and what the benefits are in terms of revenue, and then what the downside is, what time, money, effort goes into it.
Thank you, Adam. Okay, Ralph's up. He says, hey guys, I have some clients running 2 businesses from the same address. Looks like we might be able to get all that questions answered today. That's good. Okay, sorry, Ralph. He says, I have some clients running 2 businesses from the same address. Does Google Business Profile, formerly GMB, require that these have different addresses, such as Suite O and maybe Suite O-B? Also, can they have the same phone number and contact emails? Okay, so Ralph, this is a question that's come up a lot recently, both in our free Facebook group as well as the mastermind. My answer is always the same. And that is, like, there's really 4 components to NAP. We talk about NAP, name, address, and phone number, but there's really 4 components because there's also the website URL, right? So as long you can have one common data point across those 4, and it's fine. Google can still, separate the two or distinguish between the two. As soon as you have 2 data points or more that are common among 2 separate businesses out of those 4 data points, right? If 2 or more of those data points are common, then it can ambiguate both entities, the NAP of both. It can cause NAP issues and make both of them difficult to rank. That's it. Seriously. So they can share the same name as long as they have the same business name. So for example, multi-location businesses that have, like, I often like to append the city name to that business name for each location, but you can have just the same business name as long as the physical address, the phone number, and the website URL, so the landing page, are unique, right? Or you could have the same address for 2 separate businesses, as long as they're, the 2 different businesses have 2 unique, a unique name for each, unique phone numbers and unique landing pages. You could have the same address, right? Does that make sense? Or if you had the same phone number, once again, you could have, and that, again, that can go back to a multi-location business, right? A multi-location business could have multiple locations, but they have the same phone number for each location, because it might be, like a number that is a redirect number and they want to use the same phone number. Well, that can cause NAP issues unless they have some sort of location modifier in the business name, right? To identify or uniqueify, right? To make each business unique. So again, if there's 4 data points really with for local stuff, which is name, address, phone number, and website address, which is the landing page URL. And as long as 1 or 3 of those data points are unique, you can have 1 common data point across them and it will be fine. So hopefully that makes sense. I would recommend that, if you can, even, with this, add a modifier to the suite number, that's a good thing. But I would also recommend unique phone numbers, unique landing pages. Why? I mean, again, phone numbers are so damn cheap. You can get phone numbers through Twilio for what, $1 a month plus usage, which is pennies, like literally. So why not have unique phone numbers? Just, again, keep 3 of the 4 data points unique, and you can share 1. If it's the same address, fine, same address. Have 2 different business names, have 2 different phone numbers, and 2 different landing pages. So URLs. Does that make sense? Easy way to get around that. Okay, cool. We're almost done, guys. We got about 3 minutes. Vance says, hey, Gents, a new client will not get a Google business profile due to some bullshit advice that an expert told him about needing a business license before you can get one. Have you ever heard of that requirement? No, I mean, I have known of Google like reclaiming a previously suspended Google business listing. Sometimes they'll require documentation for the business. Also, asking to move a location, like to have a Google business address moved. I've had to do that. One of the trainings that we called Local GMB Pro, I did it for a Mario's cab service, which was a taxi cab service in Charlottesville, Virginia. And that was the example that I used with his permission in that training. And that was one of them that I had to, we had to produce corporate documents for Google to move the location. So I have seen it happen where it's like for re-verification issues, or to request unsuspension, right? Reinstatement, or to move a location, but I've never heard of it up front. It may, I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen, but I've never heard of it up front when you just go to register. Although now with video verification stuff, it may be something that starts to happen more often where they require some sort of verification, corporate document verification. But, having a business license is a good way to do that. If you register with the State Corporation Commission, then that's a really good validation signal that it's a real business. Does that make sense? Okay. Have you ever heard of that? By the way, I just registered a new Google business profile for one of my own products, and they offered me the mail option now, which worked. Oh, that's great. And it's interesting. One of our mastermind members, he just said he just posted an image of a verification that he got, which was a phone or email verification for a new. He's in Australia though, but that's cool. It's good to hear that there are some that are still working. Stretch Armstrong says, hey, I was watching an older YouTube video on your channel where a local video email outreach tactic was mentioned involving prospecting local biz for SEO digital marketing work. Where can I check this out? Is it part of the battle plan? No, but there's video. lead gen system. That's probably what you're talking about, which still works. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Adam,
I
if you
just
wanna drop
posted that on there. Did you see that, Bradley? I put it down
Oh, I
below.
see it,
So
yeah.
anyone else that's looking, you can grab it standalone. We also offer it with a fantastic deal if you either get the YouTube Silo Academy or Battle Plan. It's offered as an upsell since it's such just a killer course. People love it, and we want to reward the people who purchase our products. So it's offered as a discounted upsell.
Cool. Thank you, Adam. And Vance says internetbs.net is a great alternative to Namecheap. Been using them for years. Solid. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Internet BS. That's a
Yeah.
great domain.
And look, it says it's got a no bullshit like logo. I'm
Yeah.
afraid to click on it, but it looks legit now because it's got the meta title.
I just went right for it. That's pretty good. That's nice.
It's cool. I'll have to check that out. Thanks, Vance. All right, guys. Thanks everybody for being here.